This week. Wow, we're very happy to have Mico Yuk with us. Mico Yuk is a BI thought leader, an author, keynote speaker, business owner. We finally got to chat with Mico quite a bit during the past Business Analytics Conference. So, Mico, how are you? Welcome to the program.
I'm doing well. I'm honestly sitting here thinking, what the hell is DAX? But I'm beginning to think I'm out of my league here. Holy crap, I'm doing well.
Don't let the Wolverine poster behind Oz throw you off. So, Mico, would you mind starting us off a little bit with, there were quite a few Excel people and Excel thought leaders that were at the past Business Analytics Conference. Would you mind talking a little bit about your experience there and a little bit about your keynote address there?
Sure. First of all you fine people were there. And Rick, I'd seen you before, by the way. You didn't mention that. We met in a previous life. Yeah. And I had just such an amazing time. As I mentioned to you guys, like everybody else, I started off with Excel, so I'm actually certified. That was the first tool I used before I knew what business intelligence actually was, believe it or not. And so going to that event, it was just amazing because even online, you know what Twitter is, right? I don't know if anybody else does this, but you're on Twitter and then you go looking for these avatars, right? So I remember like walking around and seeing this hat, and I was thinking that's Oz. Just look for the hat, right? I mean, so it was great to just really walk around, see people's shirts, and I had a great time. I learned a lot, by the way. So that was really, really, really awesome. It was interesting to see people who embrace Excel coming from more of a BI enterprise world. It was interesting to see how people embrace Excel in a way that they're not, I hate to say this, ashamed of it, to be quite honest with you. I got a lot of interesting questions, a lot of interesting, questions that even kind of like the DAX thing that I had to think about, Rick, right? So for me, it was a great learning experience, great audience too. I mean, there was a lot of people there, which is quite amazing. And, a lot of, and the similarities to BI, lots of fascination about visuals, right? So one thing that was exciting to me is that even though Excel is all these rows and columns, I was excited to see how hungry people were to tell a story and be very visual. So I had a great time. I really did. It's definitely a repeat for next year, I'll tell you that much. And by the way, I thought we were going to be doing SQL. I have to add this. And I didn't see too much of that. And hopefully I don't offend anybody, but I was a little bit nervous at first because I was thinking, SQL, which I'm certified in. I'm like, haven't seen it in a while, but it was pretty exciting. I mean, people were talking about data visualizations and, like Shandu, right? Amazing functions, and it was good. It was really good.
Wow.
So first off, Mom, Mico said she knew me. Take a picture of that, so that's about Mom. Mico, would you mind talking a little bit about BI Brains and what that is and your role there?
Sure. So BI Brains is our company. We actually renamed our company back in January of this year, 2015. And so what we primarily do is we're primarily in the enterprise space. So we do a lot of SAP or business objects work. Though I have to admit we've done Tableau, ClickTech, and Excel. You don't get away from Excel, right? Everybody has a hidden Excel sheet underneath their desk. So we're constantly running into those. And so what we focus on is a little bit different, I feel, from a lot of other companies. Our main focus is user adoption. So we literally have the company model that we will do any and everything it takes to make sure that users use the tool. And a lot of times that breaks traditional rules, right? So it's not the typical install it for 5 years, charge you a huge amount of money and then hope you stick around, right? We use a good combination of design thinking, marketing. I think the Steve Jobs, right? The whole goal is we want users to open it, not know it's a BI application, not know it's necessarily business intelligence, and use it like they would use a Fitbit. It becomes necessary. So we have a little bit of a different approach, I can tell you, in the enterprise space, and it seems to be catching on really well. So we do things like, we do BI makeovers. So we have something that we call, you guys ever heard this term, Rick? You might like this. You ever heard the ugly baby?
Oh, yeah.
You heard that term. So we have the BI makeovers, right? When users come and it's cute because when you do this data viz stuff, you guys are going to love this. People bring their stuff. Let me use my iPad. And I get these comments like, okay, before you judge this, don't judge what I'm about to show you. And I'm like, what are you going to show me, dude? The Hulk? Like, what what's on your iPad. And then, they're ashamed of what they have. And in my head, I'm thinking, so then they open up some horrendous looking thing that's pink and green. And, it's just very interesting to see that users in our world, there's this mentality around, I do and I use these applications, analytics every day for this. But when it comes to BI, you know what? Maybe it doesn't need to look pretty or look great or work as it should, right? So we more focus on user adoption. That's all BI Brains is about. And it's focused on the brain because what we do is we find that a lot of teams in the BI world, in all size companies, are very analytical and they use the left side of their brain. What our company particularly does is we tend to balance that equation where we use about 50% of right brain, 50% of left brain. So we bring those two together, and that's how we work on user adoption. And average user adoption, by the way, is 15% in the industry. That sucks.
So
that really sucks.
So you're saying that there's the analysis, but then communicating the analysis can be sloppy, ugly, and you help to get that message across better.
Yeah, so we are storytellers, right? Whatever your story is, because what we find again is that Steve Jobs changed the world with this, right? These iPads and these iPhones and these Androids and the HPs that look like Macs, everybody right now wants to be an Apple, right? That's the reality. And so Apple, right? What do? You open it, you open your app. If it doesn't work, you just press delete and you go see the 10 other apps that do it, right? You look at analytics on your, and people don't realize it. I don't know about you. I have a Fitbit. I have a workout app. I track calories. They all have these beautiful charts, right? Why should I open my reporting at work and it looks like crap, right? So there's kind of, I think there's, and the struggle is that there's a lot of technical people that manage this, and that right side brain is, there's a bit of a not I guess it's not leveled. It's heavily geared toward more analytics, where design is a challenge.
So you said that you try to make tools that don't necessarily look like BI tools. Do you think that like the typical BI tools just scare people away from adopting them?
I don't think I know. So this is Jordan. This is a true story. I went to London, and I'm not going to call the company name, but they're one of the 3 biggest companies in the world. And I sat with this executive, and I love that you bring up the word scared me. So they bring us in and they have what I call the ugly baby, right? A lot of ugly babies. I don't know what happened. And I asked him, I said, look, right? I asked him, I said, what's the problem with the application? And you know what he said to me? He said, I opened it and it just scared me. That's exactly what he said. He said, it just scared me. It was big. There were a lot of buttons. They were all over the place. They were not working properly. They were, he just got scared. And so, that's what we see. I mean, there's a lot of billion-dollar bull crap being built. Nobody uses it.
So but you have me think about, like, when I've gone around with my clients and I've seen bad spreadsheets. And I understand that it's not their job. I can see that they were thinking. It is intuitive what they did. But there is some disconnect, and I attribute it to, if they are, a customer service supervisor, that's what they know. And then they'll make a spreadsheet that's poorly laid out, and okay, so then that's where I gotta come in and help.
Yeah, but Oz, look, the main issue we see with that and with Excel is it's different when you're building a sheet for yourself and when you're building it to tell a story to someone. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
And part of the issue you see there is that they're building it for them. They completely forget that the person that comes in that doesn't have a clue that they have to communicate with needs a little bit more. I mean, that's the big problem, right?
Okay.
You have to paint the picture.
Okay, I've seen that too. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, and the people who are building for people and still making that mistake. They still are picking the colors. If you have we've seen, I think I told this story, people were giggling, right? I've seen a grown middle-aged man build a pink and green dashboard, light pink.
Don't hate.
Hating colors.
Well, the thing is this, I said to him, I'm like, the company's colors are black and blue.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I was scared. I was scared. You know,
Right.
what do you say? You know, we're at L'Oreal, I get it, and I'm being honest here, right? But I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? He loved it, I loved it, but what about the 100 other people that had to use it, right? They
Right.
open it, and you know what they do? They completely disregard it immediately because it's pink and green. They go, oh, this guy must have been playing at home with his kid.
Right.
But now, one thing is, when you get into web development, after a certain level, one person can't be doing both. You got a front end and you got a back end.
Correct.
At a very small level, yeah, when it's just you and your friends or whomever, then yeah, you can have the ugly website with the ugly back end and the garish colors. But after a while, yeah, that stuff's got to be separate.
I agree. And so actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Before I did BI, what I used to build from 12 years old was websites.
Yeah.
So I think coming into BI, there was a focus on, I was always thinking, wow, I wonder what Rick would click, right? Because I'm trying to get him to click on the right thing. I wonder what Jordan would click. And as you know, with websites, you think the button's in the right place, saying click here. Jordan never sees it.
Right.
You're thinking, what's his problem? I mean, that's typical website, right? And you have to keep moving the button around and moving it around until Rick and Jordan click it, right? So in BI, they haven't had to think about those things until they had to put their applications on an iPad that may have over 200 apps on it. You're in competition every single hour of every day now. Every apps are crazy. They're on your desktop. I tell BI people all the time, you are competing. Think of yourself as being on the App Store. That's how I talk to our BI people.
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I'll jump in real quick, Oz. If you want me to click, all you need to have is Diet Coke and. but also, Mico, as in your background, you've taken a lot of this type of experience, and whether a person is building the dashboard, we'll say in a tool like Excel, CS, or Design Studio, Business Objects tool, one of these high enterprise tools, or something like Excel, regardless of the tool, it seems like there are a series of steps that you would typically go through to make that happen, right? Regardless of the technology that you're going to use, and you put together something based on your experience called the BI dashboard formula. I was hoping you would talk a little bit about that and give us an idea of what that is.
Sure. So the BI dashboard formula, just for people that are listening, you're now going to learn a few things about me. Yes, I have a dog. No, I'm not married, and I don't have kids. Yes, I traveled 250,000 miles last year, and I do run a company with employees. And I say this because it took 5 years to build and 7 years to perfect. And when I say that, people look at me and they go, you're not 60, so what have you been doing? Yes. Okay, there is a little bit of an imbalance there, clearly. So now we've gotten over that question. What happened, Rick, is essentially kind of going in and getting, I kind of got my butt handed to me a few times. Started to see the same problems over and over again. All these companies, whether they were big or small, just the same problems, the same complaints. And so after probably about the 5th year, I developed this process to help myself. So just to be clear, I had no intentions of doing anything with it, but trying to help my sanity, because I was so frustrated I was going to leave the BI industry. That's how frustrated I was. So I developed this little spreadsheet, started using it. Customers started going, oh, can I use that? Oh yeah, sure. It's just a little, and it's in Excel, by the way. It's just a little spreadsheet. Started being useful to other people, and then there were 2 companies, McKesson and HP, that kind of came in and said you need to create a product. So it has 4 simple steps. I don't want to go pull up a website here, but the first step is you basically do planning. So the plan is just to figure out who's involved, when is it due, what you're measuring. So the who, what, when. Now you may laugh at this, but do you know how many people plan what they're doing? Can you guys take a guess what we found out?
10%.
That's really high in a lot of companies. There's a lot of doers. People love to do.
Okay. Oh man.
They love to do. Yeah.
Yes. Oh. You're taking me back to a dark place.
You guys have kids, right? So you ever heard that story, the little engine that could?
Not me.
No. I put them all back.
But you have heard the little engine that could, right? You guys know that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of little engines that could. That's all I'll say. So They don't plan. So after they finish planning, then they use, and by the way, Rick, I'm happy to give it to you guys, they use what we call a BI blueprint. all it is it has in about 15 fields that you list your KPIs and everything for your KPIs. Then what you do is you go into prototyping. What we do in prototyping is, good old pencil and paper. So just to be honest, before we ever get to the tool, because we don't care about the tool, we do pencil and paper, conceptualize, then we get to the tool. And then the last thing we do, which you guys might find is funny, is we actually celebrate. So we call this a social BI launch. And don't laugh at this. How many companies, if you're a small company, hundreds of thousands of dollars on BI analytics, and then they send one email telling people to check out the report? And then they wonder why no one has looked at it, right? So we looked at the progression of social media, and we decided, you know what? After all this work and money is spent, people need to celebrate what they've put forward. They need to get people excited. So we use that social BI launch as a user adoption technique. So that's the program. We simplified it. It's so simple sometimes that people underestimate it, but it works. I mean, we have somewhere up to 5,000 students. We have a couple hundred success stories all around the world, every size business. It just works.
Wow. So can this tie back to when you mentioned the 15% adoption?
Yeah.
What is that? Because there was a slide I think you did at Past BAC that says something like 80% fail.
Yes.
So
Gartner.
what is that? Can you say more about what is that solutions that fail at such a high rate?
Yeah, I want to show it on the screen, but whenever I show it, people get like a shock. So I don't want.
Let's shock us.
I don't want. No, the numbers look really bad, right? 97 billion spent on BI. 15 to 22% user adoption rate. I mean, it's 8 out of 10 projects fail. It's a little depressing. We probably drink some Diet Coke for us.
But
it's pretty bad.
So
it's bad.
So this is what I thought about is being at a company, and there's going to be, okay, you're going to get rid of this legacy system, and we're going to consolidate all this data, and then 2 years passed when it was supposed to have been done, and I don't know how many $1 million, we have this mandatory call saying, no more.
Yeah.
No more.
Just
if you had meetings this afternoon, there is no meeting. Some of you will be laid off, some of you will be reabsorbed into the company, but no more.
That's right. Yeah, well, we call it the never-ending BI project, right? So in the enterprise world, we refer to that as agile.
As what?
Agile.
Wait, you refer to the never-ending BI project as agile?
Wow.
Ooh, wow. Man, there are going to be some Scrum Masters. My father-in-law is a Scrum Master. I'm going to have to tell him he said that. No.
You know what? I got it from a CFO. I got it from 2 very big CFOs. They said, "Oh, you're doing agile? You mean it's never going to end? No, thank you."
Right. Well, that's probably the truth that they can't accept.
But what is going on? At least what I heard, I heard different versions of what went wrong. Like one department doesn't want to sign off because it works for your department and sucks for everybody else, and that person is not going to go off into the future as the one who signed off on it. And then there is all the ad hoc reports, all these reports that never could get right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of problems, right? So first it starts with data. Who owns the data? We all know data hoarders. You guys ever watch the show Hoarders, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see. I saw animal hoarders last night. I was gonna write them and say, can you feature data hoarders? Because there's a lot of those available. I mean, they're hiding databases at home. They have. Jordan, you look like you're a culprit. Do you have a database underneath your desk? I saw you look underneath your desk.
Yes, that's right. I do. It's all paper.
It's all, see, there we go. Whether it's paper or, and I'm guilty, right? So I walk around, don't laugh, but I don't think I'm the only one. Come on, I walk around with this little guy here, and I kind of like him, but anybody else have a 2 terabyte gig drive in their bag? Because I have one.
I used to.
At home I do, but not in my bag.
Yeah, I mean, we love data, and I put mines
Right.
in 5 different locations. But data hoarders are the problem, right? So we have people that hide data. They don't want to include data. They build a bunch of reports for everything. And I don't know. I think the biggest problem is a lot of people don't want to change, guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's going to be a clash of generations. Think about our kids. They grew up on iPad. They don't even write full words.
Oh,
You guys know that shorthand is a language in teen world. Have you guys read blogs recently? No, well, don't read mine. I can't spell, but I mean the grammar is completely gone.
Oh yeah. But
Right?
I think part of it is living in this beta world where, because see, when you mention apps, I cringe because I have had to resist more and more apps because that's something that's got to update and something that could potentially have conflict with other things, and I don't use an app unless I need it. So all these nice to have things, no, because I
Okay.
find it disruptive to me.
But how many apps do you currently have that are necessary?
Well, no. I get where you might be trying to go here, but things like something to pick out the song on the radio, you know,
No, no,
that
no.
I don't.
What's the count? So in terms of necessary, what's the count? Do you have 20, 30? What do you count as vital? Because I know you got more than 5.
Well, sure, and there's a whole spectrum. There's a whole spectrum between, you know, absolutely dire and a whole bunch of frill. Whole spectrum in there. Yes, I have some things for fun, definitely, but I am also wary.
Okay, but Oz, we're issuing a new generation of people that only know the App Store
Sure,
and phone.
sure,
That's
sure,
all they know,
sure, sure,
right? And
sure.
those, and if you know, I always tell people, I say, if you think that we're being challenged by the people in corporate or in businesses that don't want to change, get ready for the next generation where they're like, wait a minute, I clicked in 1 second, it didn't open, I'm out of here. Your app must be broken. They don't know, you know the color wheel of death, the spinning wheel of death. That doesn't exist in their world. It simply doesn't exist, right? You know these long texts that we write, you know, we still write the word with. They speak in shorthand, right? So I mean, when we look at building items, I just tell people you got to build for the future, right? You got to think through. But there are a lot of people who don't want to change, and I don't think they're going to be around very long.
Okay.
That's the reality. I mean, like, I don't know, remember, I didn't say this during the keynote, but we have worked with a ton of users. And do you know when we ask people to help us explain what a graph is showing, there are people with 20 years experience that can't tell you what's on a waterfall chart.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, it's, you know, it's change sucks. That's the reality. So I think there's some challenges there basically, but you know, I just think that, you know, there's a lot of rethinking that has to be done, and I think
Right.
that people have to be willing to learn new skills. And if they're not, you're going to continue to see the problems that we have.